Are you an artist or a songwriter looking to elevate your music and get more listeners? Or maybe you're kind of looking for ways to get out of a funk and improve. If that sounds like you, then keep watching, because today I'm sharing 5 tips for advanced songwriters so that you can write your next big hit. Let's blast off and get started. JM in your universe. Konnichiwa friends, I'm Jonathan Miller and welcome back to Jonathan Miller Music, where we help each other become better artists. In order to improve as a songwriter, you've got to keep working at it. Songwriting is a skill just like any other, and something that I'm always trying to improve too. As a songwriter for over 15 years, here's some tips for anyone that's a little bit past the basics. I'm not explaining what verse-chorus form is in this video. Which actually brings me to my first point. Tip number 1. Throw out verse-chorus form. Verse-chorus form is an excellent basis for starting out. But what makes a song sparkle in today's world is how that formula gets challenged. Don't get me wrong, you can write an amazing song in verse-chorus form. I'm not saying don't use it or that it's bad, but if you really want to challenge yourself, let's color outside the lines a bit. So start your song in a way that you typically don't write in. If you like to have a little music intro build into your first verse, open up your song with a chorus. Make it hooky, booming, and strong like Lady Gaga's Bad Romance. As you move through the song, maybe make verse 2 longer than verse 1, adding another layer of repeatable hooks. Or do what I did in my song I Heard You Hate My Voice and put in a random musical break where a chorus is expected and then go into another stanza or verse. Play with unexpected formatting because it's going to add so much dimension to your composition. Challenge yourself to write away from your natural tendencies. If you feel yourself writing towards the chorus, what could you put instead to keep the tension building just a little bit longer? Or, on the flip side, if you tend to be a little bit wordy, like I can be, how fast can you get to the point? Mixing up the formula is a surefire way to spark new and exciting ideas. Tip number 2, title and ideas first. Coming up with the title first for a song isn't really innovative as a concept by itself, but one way you could innovate that is by brainstorming a gigantic list of every possible word, phrase, or metaphor around that title before you ever start actually writing your song. And I mean really think about it too, for like 30 to 45 minutes. Just sit there with your phone or a piece of paper and list out every possible relation to that title. For example, if your title was just Cats, not the best title, but you know, I won't judge. You would just sit there and list things out like animals, cats and dogs, it's raining cats and dogs, scratching, sly, Catwoman, saber-toothed tiger, Power Rangers. I mean, literally just go for it and add everything. There's no wrong answer. Then challenge yourself to use as many of the strongest words, phrases, metaphors, whatever you've come up with in your song. Remember, you don't want to sound cheesy or cringy because you've crammed so much in there that it becomes off-putting to the listener, but having the super list will not only help you emphasize your title, but also your point and your story. You can always keep these super lists too for future reference when you get stuck, which that alone makes them worth doing. Being a good songwriter is all about arming yourself with language that enhances your storytelling and thoughts. If you're working with a co-writer, have them do the same thing, just to maybe try something new out, because they might also come up with a metaphor or something that you didn't. And if you want to give them proper credit on your song, you can do so with this video's sponsor, Distrokid. Don't look at me like that. I couldn't think of a great segue, okay? Distrokid is one of the leading music distributors for independent artists, helping over 1 million people get their music up on digital platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, and Tidal. Distrokid is unique because for one affordable yearly price, you can distribute as much music as you want and not worry about per project renewal fees. They offer a wide variety of features to help you promote and enhance your music, like song credits. Music is oftentimes a collaborative effort, so if you've got producers or musicians you want acknowledged on streaming services, for example, this is the best way to do so. You can even add music video personnel, mixing engineers, the gear you use to create your tracks. Want to add your social media information? You can do that. You can even add the inspiration for your song in a special note or a thank you to your supporters who helped you make your music. Give them a special thank you just as you would for the physical release of your music. Best of all, Distrokid is currently the only distribution platform offering a service like this. So if you're an indie artist looking to get your music out there, use my special VIP link to save yourself 7% on your first year's membership. Link is in the description. Tip number 3, use a random sound as your hook. Have you ever been out for a walk and heard something that just sounds really cool, or it catches your attention? Like a bird chirping in a certain way, or a boat engine on the water, the sound of your shoe touching the pavement, or maybe something like grabbing a pan out of a cupboard, or turning on a light switch like Charlie Puth. Make that into a song. Sound effects are really cool tools in music production that can add really nice textures to your track, both consciously and subconsciously. But your task is to make that specific sound that you found the main hook to your song. How could you build a story or instrumental around it? What ideas does this sound spark? If you loop it under your verse melody, or construct a chorus that feeds off of it, what does that sound like? Record that sound on your phone and put it in your DAW and make a beat around it. How could you turn that sound into something fire? Play around with it and give your song some cool dimension. Tip number 4, every verse is different. A great songwriter in today's music scene can balance new elements with familiar moments that keep the listener hooked and not skipping the track when it comes up on Spotify. So one way you could do that is by making every single verse rhythmically, melodically, and obviously lyrically different. Like every 2 to 4 bars, you kind of switch it up a little bit somehow. I think you can take this idea a little too far to where it sounds like 400 songs in one, and most people might be turned off by that, but switching from a powerful hooky melody into a syncopated rap, or taking your rhyme scheme into unexpected ways can keep the listener paying attention because they don't know what's gonna happen next, especially when highlighted by a really strong hook. If your melody is killer and you keep switching it up to build up that tension into a great anchor, your song is gonna be amazing. If you don't really like K-pop, that's fine, but my favorite example of this is I Got a Boy by Girls' Generation. I know that song's a little bit old now, but seriously, you should go watch that song, and you should also watch musicians react to it, because like I said, even though it is a little bit older now, it's a great track to learn from. I'll put the link in the description so you can check it out. And tip number 5, write outside your genre. We never stop learning as artists and songwriters. And sometimes the simplest way of elevating your music is by simply trying to write in a style that you don't typically write in, or incorporating elements from another genre that maybe helps showcase your talent in a new way. Every genre of music has its own writing style: classical, R&B, pop, rap, rock, K-pop, EDM, country. It's all very different, but certain elements can sound a little familiar. So if you typically write country music, for example, what if you tried writing a song that only had like 1 or 2 of your favorite country elements, and then the rest of your overall composition is predominantly in an R&B format? Maybe you select different harmony stacking or rhythmic patterns that lend themselves to the R&B format, but at the heart of it, you've got great country stories and maybe like 1 repeating banjo hook somewhere. Or maybe you simplify the storytelling and go in a more pop style. The point is, get outside your comfort zone. What if you wrote a rap song even though you typically write rock music? Or what if you combined the two? Experimentation is key, and it keeps creativity up, and getting rid of genre lines can be a very creative thing. Look at what happened with Lil Nas X and Old Town Road. If you take these tips to heart and try them out, your magnum opus might just be 1 song away.